I'm like for it because I don't know. I mean, are we doing it to make something positive come? Or are we doing it for, malicious reasons, right? So if food is genetically modified to harm the populace by being some sort of way that causes economic or some other harm, then yeah, it's an issue. But if it's being like enhanced or something to like improve or help us grow as a species, then I'm for it. Oh,
Hey everybody, Dr. Heartbeats. I was just answering your message. Concerning the question, Mylin, I think it's a good question. I think I haven't heard the whole conversation, but in terms of genetically modified organisms, do you mean organisms or organs, like specifically for transplantation or something?
Organs,
Or,
specifically foods, and
mm-hmm.
yeah, currently available production ready foods like mm, maize,
Golden rice.
corn,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Like some tomatoes.
soybean.
Yeah, I think that people accepted vaccinations
What
so
I
quickly around the world, while GMO actually was, demonized for a long time. So I think it's the question of the, need. For example, because people were afraid of the coronavirus of COVID, they actually decided to, go ahead and risk with the vaccines, although they were not very, reliable in terms of clinic research and stuff like that. With GMO, I think from what I know, it's demonized by marketing companies, by different companies. But from scientific data that I have seen, or at least from different, like even the TED talk on GMO was very particularly interesting. And from what I see, there are different research papers, a lot of them, that do not show any harm from genetically modified organisms. And I think that it's something that we might need to use, but so far the need is not so big that people could use these things, could use the full potential of it, because it's easily demonized and people do not understand that. However, they understand vaccination, which makes me think that if tomorrow we have more of a push towards the hunger and starvation in, let's say, developed countries or developing countries, that would be a very good way out. And even in some different countries where they don't have enough food or enough nutrients, I would rather say. Sometimes genetically modified organisms, like something like tomatoes with antioxidants, or different, hybrids that could help replenish those, needs in nutrients. I'm for GMO. I think that people do not understand. It's like, I give the best example is that, remember in the 90s, I don't know about other countries, but in Russia it was super popular to say that vegetable oil does not contain cholesterol. They actually said that to sell that to people, which was ridiculous because the vegetable oil, by definition, cannot have cholesterol, because cholesterol is only in fats of the animal, how do I say, nature or something like that. So yeah, it's, I think that it's more of a marketing stigma, but as a phenomenon itself, I think GMO is more good than bad. That's my opinion. Any other opinions, Dr. Heartbeats? I'm sure you have more background in science that could give us more of a reliable answer, not just
I'm
opinions.
just wondering, what do you mean by global consciousness? Because I'm thinking more
Mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
a spiritual, psychic kind of consciousness, and I think you are more discussing, knowledge. I'm not sure.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, he was talking about the genetic thing. We didn't even. I don't think we were touching really on the spiritual thing. Well, I don't even think we were talking about. Well, I mean, is it kind of? I think it's kind of related to global consciousness, but through some other means. But I think he was asking a different question. She was responding to her.
And Bernie raised her hand just now.
Uh, I was curious about the cholesterol thing you said about the oil and cholesterol, because it never really kind of made sense to me that oil doesn't have cholesterol. It is fatty. I mean, can you explain that again? You said it was a marketing tool to make people think that they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get. I'm saying that because I take medicine for high cholesterol. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah, what was the beta blockers, something like that? Yeah, from what I know, there are two different types of fats. Some of them come from plants and some of them come from animals. So cholesterol is typical for animal fats and for animal meat or something like that, whereas in vegetable oils you don't get that. And I'm not sure about fish oil, by the way, Dr. Heartbeats. I would trust you more on that, but from what I know, it doesn't contain
What's the
cholesterol.
actual question?
uh,
What
the
What's the question for
the
me?
cholesterol in vegetable oil. What I said is that this is the best example of what is could be the contradiction between the actual scientific data and what people think because of the marketing. The marketing companies would say that, oh, buy our vegetable oil, it doesn't contain cholesterol. It's been almost a trend for so long that people would see that in commercial and actually think that cholesterol is bad, and that's why I want to buy this vegetable oil because it doesn't have it. However, the trick is that it was so ridiculous because vegetable oil cannot by default contain cholesterol because it's not there. It's not there. It's never there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I know. A different fact about nutrition is that, speaking of fats, margarine is one of the worst kinds of fats because they are, plant fats, like vegetable fats, but at the same time, they were chemically forced to look like animal fats. That's why they do not behave very normally in the human body. That way, you shouldn't kind of eat them. So that's why
Hmm.
cookies, for example, are not very good because the producers of cookies wouldn't use the clear butter, like just a regular butter. They would use margarine because it's cheaper. Yeah. So,
Oh, I see. Thank you.
yep.
Mm.
So maybe we can segue back to collective consciousness because I think this is such an interesting topic to talk about, and I actually decided to have it to kind of like close our events and head towards the shutdown of Altspace. So I put two events this week. Today, for those who are in America and they would prefer later time, and tomorrow's event for regular European time, which is also convenient for me. So yeah, let's. That would be fun to discuss the same topic two times. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about collective consciousness? Is there such thing as collective consciousness? What's its feature? What do you think is the future of our community, like of humankind?
Define it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, can you
Yes.
define
What is it? What is it? Collective consciousness.
what do you think?
Yeah.
What
Would you
is
like to
that? You
Define it.
define it and
go ahead? Maybe you can define it because
could
it's
you?
collective. Yeah, it's collective
So
Well,
passing the law,
discussion.
you got to.
it just sounds like collective. The word, the term to me. I don't want to be wrong, but it just sounds as if like we all come together to like one thought, one mind moving, I guess, whatever, and whatever is outside of that collective would probably be uh, looked upon in a bad way if you're not all in the it's by the majority. That's what I say. The majority rules, I guess. Is that it? Collective consciousness. I
Good
don't know.
definition. Let's see. There's no wrong answer here. It's a collective ground where it's an open floor where we can discuss different things and learn from each other from through personal connection. So whatever you give to whatever definition you have helps to create somewhat like knowledge, and then when other people answer, we can collect all that knowledge and think, wow, this is more reliable. Oh, and this is maybe some like old beliefs that I should cast like off and
Well, in
continue.
that case, I definitely believe in a higher consciousness. I
Mm-hmm,
believe in a
mm-hmm.
consciousness that doesn't border on the natural, that doesn't border on the always border on the logical or the reasoning. There's a consciousness which is greater than that which we already have in place. We have in place our standards of consciousness, but then again, there's another form of consciousness that rises above that it just it exists on its own without it's not contained. You can't put it in a box. You can't truly define it. It's infinite. It's infinite consciousness. And so, yeah, that.
There you go. Look, this is a much more profound answer, right? Okay, so anybody else wants to elaborate on that and continue on maybe you have some different understanding of consciousness. Let me allow hand raises because it was not allowed. Mendes, there's something going on with the screen. Are you clicking the screen or kind of is just a little bit distracting? Yeah, can you just turn it on and let it go? Let it go. Let it go. Yeah, great.
Oh, no, it's like stopping every time I click somewhere. It's weird.
Don't click. It happens, yeah, sometimes when you switch between the windows. Anyway, so hand raises are allowed. If you, I think there's gonna be like a small company of people, so we can even like avoid using any kind of megaphones and just like stick together and talk to each other. But I like how you spread around the room, so to have like some space for every person. So yeah. Dr. Heartbeats, would you like to add anything on collective consciousness? Maybe so that way we can start the deeper conversation.
Oh yeah, I was just learning from you guys right now. I wanted to hear what everyone's opinion was to see, where I stand. I mean, I think I will agree with the previous speaker and say that to me, collective consciousness is more on a spiritual level of not only knowledge, you know, um, but also spiritual knowledge and connectedness to each other. I think that we are a species that is supposed to be collectively conscious, like a swarm of bees who instinctively know when something is going on with their queen, that have some kind of telepathic connection with each other, but that life and the way we live come in the way of our telepathic communication. And some of us are better at understanding each other or reading each other's minds, being connected psychically, telepathically, while others, the more mental stress you have, the further away from this natural collective consciousness you move. And I think as a species, as a world of people, we are moving further and further away from this connection because we're obsessed with things, we're constantly busy. The other parts of our minds are starting to develop, moving away from the part of the mind that connects us together.
Interesting. I like your ideas. However, I found some difference in your definitions with Bernie. I think that when you give a definition to collective consciousness, like I had a feeling, Bernie, as if you describe something that is somewhere away or like far away from us and somewhere there, right? And Dr. Heartbeats actually moved a little bit closer to my vision of it, that I think we all collectively are that consciousness that is over us. So when people talk about God, well, my beliefs are not like it's some creature somewhere far away from us, and that it's like kind of controls and follows our actions and waits for us to join him, surprisingly not her for some reason. I think, wow, women create all life. Why is it a male character, which doesn't make sense to me, like on my 5-year-old personality. However, I think that I like the Buddhist or Zen or some Oriental way of looking at it, and I think that every one of us thinks that we are drops in the ocean. However, only the collective, mass of drops actually becomes the ocean. So we are both the ocean and the drop. And I think that this is a very difficult distinction especially because we had like so much, such a long period of upbringing under the monotheistic religions, where they would tell us that there's some guy over there on the heavens, cloud looking upon us. I think it's like we all are particularly capable of being gods in our world, because nowadays we have so many abilities that previous generations of people could even only dream of, and we could create worlds, we could create, gardens and life that is so comfortable and full of joy and good emotions. We are capable of that already. And I think that when we talk about collective consciousness, I think my idea is very similar to your idea, Dr. Heartbeats, Mrs. Yeah. I think that
Yeah, you can call me whatever you like. I'll answer to
now
you.
sometimes it's later for me now, and that's why my language, after especially one glass of wine, doesn't work so well. As you know, English is not my first language. So yeah, I think that this idea is closer to me. I think that we are at the point of emergence where there are many people, and we are much more connected, like much tighter connected to each other in terms of physical world, which is the internet connections, social media and news and all that. And we learn things much faster, and we are so much interconnected. Right now, we are in the same room, but we live in very different parts of the world. Look at the globe. It doesn't seem as huge as it seemed to previous generations. And I think that we are at the verge of stepping into this new era. Oh, hey, Paige. Nice to see you. Where we should become, probably the next logical step for me is going to be, connecting to inside the species and inside our planet, like, all over our planet, to connect more, as you mentioned, this ability to connect and have this almost spiritual connection, and to feel each other better and to become one organism, which is going to be like more of a sentient life form, not just what we randomly do right now. So I think, yeah, that's what I want to believe, and I think that makes kind of some sense to me.
I do want to add though, when you talk about the internet and you say how quickly we can learn things, which is nice. The internet also, causes people to look up things that are not necessarily true and believe it. Like in medicine,
Mm-hmm.
for example, when people go on the internet and they find all of these other people who disagree with certain medical studies and they believe it, the internet is good and bad,
It is.
in that way. And it can connect people, who are planning horrible things as well. Not only, people who want to connect with each other and be close to each other, but for good reasons, but also other people who want, to do terrible things.
I agree with you, and that's why I think that emergence could be. It doesn't promise us to be easy, because this is the mirror of our today's reality. I think this is gonna be the test, like how we use the tool. Like with nuclear power, for example, it's only the choice of the right, like the I wouldn't say like humankind, because there's still like there's not equal distribution of power. There's not equal distribution of different abilities and capabilities. But I believe it's like I see humankind as one organism, because if it dies, it dies. It dies out. It's extinct. And I think if we don't want to kill ourselves, run ourselves to extinction, we will have to move to this next era where we interconnect and find the way to use the tools in a constructive way, creative way, I would say.
I think in this room, such as in this room right here, where you have collective consciousness. I just flipped the word over. Did I say it right? Collective consciousness. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, you can. You're free
Well,
to
I
use
think in
similar.
such a yes, I think in such a room we really can't discount anything that's collective, because there's no one collective in a space such as this. There are various collectives which operate on different modes of thinking, and so we really can't discount. I can't discount yours, you can't discount mine, because in this forum here, it is about collective coming together with different modes of thought, and there are so many groups of thought that exist in the world today, whether others believe it or don't believe it or accept it or don't accept it, it still exists that these are collective thoughts. And these thoughts are not alone, they're there's purpose, there's reasoning behind it. No, there's even logic, and there's even some things are based on our experiences in our lives. And because we all don't share the same experiences, we're going to lean for that thing which seems more plausible for us as a unit. And so this is why, the earth is so diversified, and everything, this is why we're all not the same. And so when it comes down to collective, just the word itself, that doesn't signify just one mode of thought. It signifies a variety of ways, and how we come about, how we gravitate towards those ways depends on our own personal experience, or our own whatever, our own person, actually our own personal experience. And so it is, and so it still exists, you know, it still exists on any level. It does exist. And so this is why I say it can't be discounted, because it is in there and it exists, whether one believes it or not. It's just a matter of one's own personal experience spiritually. For me, it's spiritual. And so, and for you, it may be something different for whatever reasons, but the fact remains, it still exists and it's still counted, and everything in here is counted.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing. So, does anybody else want to add to this, collective field of knowledge? I can add just one comment if you don't have any ready comments. I see some two hand raised.
I'm sure Paige has something to add.
Mylan also has his hand raised, and Bernie just spoke, so I can give a microphone to Mylan if he wants. Yeah, of course, we have space for everybody to talk today, because we have a very small circle of people.
Hey everybody again. The collective, which means just everyone kind of agree, but consciousness is a lot more the ideal, because we do have almost the same um, idea regarding some kind of issues. And I would like to mention, I would like to talk about the project that was uh, keep going, was in NASA, that was planning to just colonize some people into the Mars. It's just a and I would like to give a little bit of thoughts. The event that was happened 5 years ago, and the one of the NASA engineers came to in my country, and just start to talk about the colonizing people into the Mars, and just saying that let's just please be happy about it. Let's do something on this project, and spread the idea to the world. And the and the mindset of the NASA as well seems to just uh, love this idea. But at the same time, we do have a new technology in machine learning that uh, the animal brain was completely simulated inside the computer, and it's just one of the evidence that human brain also could also be simulated in machine. And it is the fight between if the human being should be just sent it to the Mars or the robots, because this project takes a long time, 20 years, and should we just spend all funding or money to the technology in robotics and programming, or should we spend it on biology, that modifying the human bodies and get ready to a new environment? And that was yeah, it was really bit old, but right now the NASA, as far as I know, they just completely start to love AI, and every day I'm seeing is that they're just saying uh, in their media and keep blowing with AI stuff. And yeah, and at that time, I just uh, fight it with the NASA engineer and just there was a little bit argue, but the consciousness. What I would like to say that the collaborative is not all the time going to become so easily, but the idea, the consciousness that we do have, it's a lot more kind of that we would like to discuss some kind of stuff, but collaborative is not so all the time the same. But we could also solve all the stuff together. I believe. Yeah, that was I would like to share.
Thanks for
The story
sharing.
I have.
Yeah, I think that we had this conversation before too. Like, it's always a dilemma where to invest our assets, right? Into space traveling, space exploration, or fighting off some diseases, or investing into education. I think that dilemma is always there. But yeah, I believe I think that this is a great point that you mentioned, and I think I agree with that. That we can collectively together we can solve many problems when we realize that there is a problem and we think that that problem is really worth solving. We are very creative at coming up with solutions. So that's kind of exciting. Okay, let's say Mylene's hand raise is done. So if anybody wants to add anything else, feel free to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had the same problem. I thought I knew what collective consciousness was, but I guess I looked up the definition. I guess I was just completely wrong. Um,
Curious. What did you thought? What did you think? How would you define the
well,
collective consciousness?
I was thinking of it on like the spiritual level, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, something like different. But it says it's supposed to be like about global civil society and citizenship, or I don't know, that's global consciousness. It says it's supposed to be about political ideals, cultural identities, and social movements in relation is our collective conscious. Like how we all, I don't know, I don't know. Do everybody in here we all probably have something in common in here that we don't even know, and that we
At
all
least
do.
theory of everything. At least, also that
At
there's
at
more
least
in
this.
common. Definitely. Yeah. Also, I could probably refer to Jung's idea about our psyche and the structure of our psychology, and I think that collective unconscious level and subconscious level, all these like levels that are merged with collective story and with collective memories, basically. And that kind of makes sense. Like the influence of our mother and father when we grow up, it's pretty much the same. Just the degree of influence might be different, or the way it manifests itself. But it's certainly a story that kind of helps us understand who we are, but at the same time sometimes it might create, if it's a negative picture, it might create some problems. For example, many countries experienced genocides, and they experienced wars and conflicts, and they still are experiencing all that. And I think that stays in the collective memory as well. Not only so, I think that memory is an important part of consciousness, right? So I think that that also can affect us right now, because we live in a era of, I would use Helian's definition, like survival mindset, where we're still trying to survive, and we still spend so much time on work, and many people work at jobs that they don't like. It's just survival level for many. It's for many people from many countries and economies, I think. So for collective consciousness to be to evolve, I think we have to have a higher level for each average person on earth, to have a higher level of awareness of safety, of development, economic development, including, I think, safety in society, because when something is when the society is dangerous, there's no space for growth. There's no space for peaceful development. So I think that we're not there. We're not even close. But I can see first steps in towards that direction. And it doesn't have to be something practical. It could be something spiritual. And I think that it will eventually become something spiritual. Almost inevitably. It's curious how esoteric student is silent today. Would you like to continue? No.
I the word as well. Collective consciousness.
Mhm.
And it's a collective conscious or collective consciousness is a set of shared beliefs, ideas, and moral attitudes which operate as a unifying force within society. I like that definition there. It covers all ground here. So
It's
beliefs,
like,
ideas, morals. Excuse me?
oh no, go ahead. Oh,
Yeah. The part that was left out was beliefs and ideas and attitudes. All of these things, whatever the beliefs are, whatever the ideas are, and whatever the attitudes are, but they operate as a unifying force within society. This is
Yes.
why we need government. This is
Yes.
exactly why we need government.
Naturally we need
Exactly,
governments,
yes.
because bigger bodies of a collective of people, I think it becomes something different, where one person is just personality. When you have a few people, it's your family or a group or something, and then it becomes your neighborhood, and then it becomes your nationality, it becomes your country, it becomes your your what I think is that we didn't have the period of our life before today's period of history, where we had this opportunity to have Earth as a collective group. I would say I'm an Earthling. We don't have extraterrestrial connections, maybe that's why. But still, I think that we have to realize that we are Earthlings and we live on the same planet, and we have to take care of it. So the scale of it's the same process, but a different scale of things. So I don't know. I think that I'm hopeful about
I
it.
think, Asti, yeah. I think when you were talking about, our neighborhoods and then our countries, and I think I was thinking more like a global community, you know, like the
Yeah,
community,
that's
it
the
starts
only.
with yourself, taking care of yourself, your family, your loved ones, your neighborhoods, your towns, your cities, your country, your region of the world, and then globally, it's really important that we are a community. And we have been losing our communities because, hundreds of years ago, humans used to live in groups together, where we would take care of each other, and we would all work in one town and not travel so far. The grandkids would be there, the grandparent is there. But now, in the world we live in, people move away from their families, and your community now becomes strangers that you didn't grow up with. So we're not as connected to the people around us, and we're looking for those connections now globally, like in Altspace. The reason we love Altspace because we can connect with people on our own level, and so that's why a lot of us love it here, because we're looking for that sense of community that we have lost, or that we used to have hundreds of thousands of years ago.
True, so true. Yes, this is exactly what I feel about this too, because we lost our smaller groups, and internet allows us to be dissolved for a while and then to recollect as a bigger society, global society. That's something that I'm looking forward to, but it's like so far it's in development. So yeah. Okay, so I have some hand raises. Nice. People are so colorful today, like blue and purple and all those nice colors. One of my favorites. Okay, so I have a couple of hand raises, Mendes. I think we can give megaphones to Shell and Bernie. Okay, Bernie spoke for a little bit, but still hand raise allows people. There you go. Shell, are you ready to speak?
Yes, I had a lot of thought processes today. As everything is chaotic. Um, so when you mentioned the level of unconscious states inside the
Mhm.
collective consciousness, it's I'd already come up with this pattern that when with uh, collective consciousness, there was a former uh, wave called a zeitgeist, which was
Oh yeah, some
uh,
documentary, right?
basically,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a word about collective consciousness in general, how it can be a wave of kind of like stupidity in general. Society can be selfish and have whims, and and collective consciousness can be a collection of whims that really go nowhere, go to some kind of hellish state. A
Mm-hmm.
bit like a ghetto picking on one person or something, thinking, oh, this is a plagiarist playground. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when I came in, the most important thing was that the state of unconsciousness is in the back of the mind, in the furthest backward place in the mind. And this is a collective consciousness of God. And it does oppose the wave you have in front of you of collective consciousness that you can see. There is an oppositional state. So I would define better to stay in the collective consciousness of the godly, kind um, of consciousness rather than collective consciousness, because people can go wrong, just like in the Bible, plagiarism of Israelites and all that, making people suffer for instead of like saving them or something. I disagree with all that. So I would go against the grain and go to the back of the mind where it's the most zen place and the most fortuitous and the most giving. Also brings a spring of happiness, conditioning to whether you want to be a Puritan of soul or not.
Thanks for sharing. That was very deep. Interesting. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Bernie, would you like to add your point? Let me give you a microphone.
Well, actually, I didn't raise my hand. I don't know. I guess I must have hit something.
Oh,
But
that's fine. Mm-hmm.
well, there's nothing more than I can. I'm trying to be as how could I put it? I'm trying to fit into the circle as much as I possibly can. So I'm not really saying all the things that I would like to say because I realize where I am and I realize the mode of thinking in this room. So what I try to do, I try to go along the mode of thinking that is in this room and put it in my own like natural way. I consider this like a natural state of thinking. So I have like different modes of thought. I could go to the natural, which is here, and then I could take it to the spiritual. That's another level. So I think just for this level here, I keep it on the natural so that I can relate more and identify more and sort of like speak on the same plane. So that's all I'm saying right now. So I'm on the natural mode right now.
But
And so in
maybe,
another
but
room,
maybe, but maybe we need to hear the other part of you and maybe we can learn from it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
curious to hear that
yeah,
too.
maybe you can share both. Yeah,
It's an open
yeah.
floor. We
well,
can do that.
it's been my
Um,
experience in sharing both. It hasn't been, you have to recognize where you are and you already know the response that you're going to get from it. But sometimes I would just like to talk to other people about different things. I don't want to go too deep into certain things because then I can't focus on the conversation, the general conversation in the room. So the conversation in the room is on a certain plane. And I do like, look, I like different topics, different discussions I like to talk about. animals, plant life and things of that nature, the clouds, the sky. I like to talk about those different things. I'm enjoying talking about this natural state of thinking, So, and I would rather reserve that for another time because I don't want to throw the room off course. So that's all.
You're very considerate.
I,
Don't
I
worry,
think I
there's no
yeah,
course.
I think coming to this meeting I realized that Asi like is very open minded about, and all of us I think who come to this are very open minded about, what other people are thinking and kind of learn from it or add it to our experience, either accept it or not accept it, but we are still respectful if we disagree. We it's not something we hold against each other. So feel free whenever you feel like it to, just tell us what you think is on your mind because you might be surprised and we may agree with you.
When you're speaking about like collective, like the definition that I read from like that I looked up, it can order on any level. It doesn't have to go into one specific area. Like we talked about government, and you mentioned about so you were mentioning about the world systems, how certain countries or even like in your neighborhood and things of that nature. I find that very interesting. You're saying how things aren't the same as when you grew up, in certain neighborhoods, how people aren't together anymore. So that's a topic, even that's a topic within itself, how things have changed over time, how we have changed, we ourselves have changed over time. And uh, okay, I'll just say it. I am a Christian, so of course I'm going to have another level of thinking, but that doesn't mean that I can't relate to other things that people are saying. Why? Because for 30 years of my life, that's where I was. I'm not there anymore, but I haven't forgotten what it's like to think on that level. So and so sometimes you just want to just talk to people. That's all. You just want to talk to people without you don't really. Sometimes I don't always come to battle, and Paige knows me, and she knows it. And today is just a calm day,
I'm really
regular
glad
day
to
of
see you
talk.
so chill. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen you this chill before, so
Well, you know why you haven't seen me this chill before? Because I've been in big screens. Because I know all space is closing, so I've been going to different rooms, and so I've been getting in it all out there. And so now I'm like, let me chill for a minute. Let me relax a bit. So I have other places to vent to get it all out, and trust me, in big screen, they don't hold back any punches. They don't. In all space, we're more polite, we're more kind. I love this. And I think we're more polite and we're more kind because we're like regular people in here. We get to recognize the names, we recognize faces, you meet up all together. So you really can't come in a room and just act all wild and crazy. Nobody's gonna remember you because they will. Oh, yeah.
I like that about
That's
Altspace. Yeah, it's really nice to be here because people are
thanks for
very,
sharing that.
yeah, understanding and kind of mellow and more educated. I would always say that because like people can't talk about difficult topics without getting personal, right? Like, oh, you don't like my beliefs, it means that you don't like me or something, like taking those things personally, which you normally get in real life or some other rooms. And here it's really chill. I like how people can, accept other people's opinions and express their own opinion and be kind and positive. Yeah, that's what kind of makes me believe that it is possible to live in such humanity in the future. But I don't know, is it real? Do you think that we are outcasts and somewhat strange, like, or something that is not typical for the whole population? Or is it possible? Should we?
Whoa. Are
Yeah,
we an edge case? We
yeah,
could be the edge cases. Oh wow. Never thought of that.
yeah. I don't know.
Well,
Definitely something interesting.
I'll contribute.
Sure.
So I think first, I don't think that we're the outcast. Like, I think that most people, if we, like, most everyone is a good person at heart. Like, and I completely agree, Shell, like about if we go deeper, like we know that we're just here. Like we know that we're just doing our best. We know that we hurt the same, we love the same. I don't know. And so I think that that is universally human. And collective consciousness to me, I mean, I see it like there's like the very rational side, of like governments and sort of cultures and stuff like that. And then there's the other side, which is like the things that we know to be true, no matter what our religion is, no matter what our experiences have been, no matter how we grew up, no matter like I've had a god awful day, and like it was hard to even say that is how bad it was. And but I know like that deep in, like we're all here the same. I don't know. And so I think that because of places like this, Alt Space is beautiful, and I think that we just really, really moderated the hell out of this place, to be honest with you, for years. We couldn't just one at a time vote people out, whatever. I think that we moderated it. We established our own culture, which is pretty much across the rooms, across the worlds. You don't find anybody here. I love you, Bernie, any way you come, and you know that. Like, I mean, and it's, I don't know. Alt Space is interesting because we self-moderated. We had our collective consciousness here, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like deliberate. It wasn't thought out, but we did it because we are good people, and we're just humans. We're just humaning on Alt Space, and I think that we're not alone. I think that we're around the world, and the more we have the ability to connect like this, that we can, through our humanity that we all have inside of us, that we all are, that we will make this all better. And that's way ambitious, but what we do know is that we're all of us are safer than we would have been 100 years ago, even though we like to point at every bad, wrong, sad, awful, horrifying thing that we know about and see and do and hear and say. We are so much better as a species than we were 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, forever ago. And no matter what happens to the earth, or to the world, or what it is, or what it was, or whatever, like I think that collectively we are getting better. And it's scary. I mean, we know we're getting better because of how messed up this stuff is, and we recognize it. We see it to be bad, and our parents didn't see some of this stuff to be bad. And my child is going to know so many more beautiful things than I'm able to recognize today. I think we're just getting better. And I think that this is because we moderated this place so organically and steadily. We got here, but we were already who we were, at our core. I don't know.
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
all
Thanks.
poetic, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, this is inspiring, actually, very beautiful. Like, I agree with you with so much, but I would say in my case, also the DNA of the platform also matters. I think that Outspace was a very good home to all of us because even the fact that I noticed how you get into the Outspace and you just click a couple of buttons and you have like this world beta and events, and like all of a sudden you have some places to go and some creativity, a sandbox that was given to you just as a regular person. And you, even if I'm no creative person in terms of like I don't create worlds, or maybe I don't paint, but this is certainly something that I would like to try if I had a chance. And that's why I like that how Outspace gave worlds to everybody and to play around with all that, and it kept it without marketing and like all this noisy and annoying commercials. I think think this is also a very good place for connection. And I like this legend about the Argo, like there's a legend from the ancient Greece where there was like a point where they swam on the boat, like on the ship actually, and once they got to the desert, the ship talked to them, and he said, like, it said, she, normally in English they say she said, that Argo has taken you through the, across the oceans and seas, and now you have to carry Argo. So like all the Greeks, they took the ship and actually carried it like all over the desert to use it later. So yeah, maybe it's time for us to carry our ship further, and to create, to keep continue. I believe that it's time to create community. It's time to create genuine connection, and whatever you do in your life, if you can create that like little community of your own where it's like friendly, open, safe for people to talk, I think that's precious. And it's only a question of time where it's going to become like a global large movement, and it's going to unite into something. It has already begun with this metaverse thing, and like internet, and like all the different opportunities to connect and be together and continue this. So yeah.
So,
Izzy, if you allow me, I'd like to add.
Sure.
Just adding to what both you and Paige, as well as Bernie over here, there were some beautiful things you guys said about. You kind of got to the spiritual part of consciousness rather quickly, which I'm very excited about and very glad that occurs in a
Jump
open
right
conversation
into
such as this.
it. Yeah, jump right into it.
And you mentioned emergence. I think that sort of aligns with the conversation that the spiritual community has with raising the consciousness and raising the frequency and going from 3D to 4D to 5D, and the dimensions of and the quantum fields that both our physical bodies and this virtual world and the thought realm, and however far you've sort of gone into your research. And myself have had my life changed by Altspace years ago, and I must echo what you said
Wow.
around the moderators and the team back then, because they did provide a space and we did sort of moderate the heck out of the platform. And it's clear just with the experiences that I've had both in the virtual and the physical world that that understanding is something that has both been purposely sort of cast aside as well as just not talked about. And that seems to be because many people in the world don't have spaces to do so, as well as have programming to not do so. So we have sort of touched on, I kind of don't want to share certain things, but then we have this space where we're already going full force to the ends of what humanity can share. We've already gotten to spiritual, and that's something, we don't talk about woo woo. That's not something that we do. And, people have, there's trauma around that. There's, the thoughts can get from a light place, but then it gets to the dark place. And understanding that both are required. It's not just being right. It's not don't be wrong. It's sharing your perspective, sharing your experience, which Altspace did in spades. And when I found it years ago, it allowed me, as well as the other internet communities that I found and became a part of, just by new experience and old experience, if you will, just sort of programmed not just beliefs, but interests, like basketball. I like to play basketball, but no one would know that by all of the quantum conversations that I've been having and how I've sort of learned about love and how that's close to God and how not many people see that. And as well as I've had my own privilege. A lot of us have a headset. Not many people have headsets. And how, just the path that you've had to be on in order to acquire one and in order to feel that you can speak in a space. And so we do sort of create these paradigms of speech, as well as paradigms of space for speech, such as churches and, political spaces and your own community. And many people don't have the opportunity as well as the privilege to have those spaces of multi-cultures. But the internet has that. The internet is that. And the original team sort of understood that and was echoing that not only in physical reality by having a presence, it's kind of a paradox, but by having a presence on digital phones and being accessible to the world because it was on a phone and connected to the web. And that was one of their main tenets as a platform, as well as having those moderators that understood heart and understood community and what the platform could be used for with regards to what we as humans want to do, not necessarily what the tech can do and ooh, we're the best at it and ooh, we do this and we're the first ones, but why? Like what are we doing here that makes that more viable to speak on or to respect than my own being? I don't want to, don't want to sideline too much, but I matter.
Hey,
And so, what makes the way you want to talk and the way that you want to have a certain space go, or I should say, have the energy in a certain space go, excuse me, than how I like to be. I exist. I'm here. And if I want to talk about something that you've inspired me to say, I should feel, and at least Altspace has allowed me to know that I can do that in with certain physical actions like my voice, just opening my mouth and saying a word, that I can be myself, and I do deserve to do so. And I think you, as a leader with your own group, your own channel, your own events that you lead, you allow that space by, I would assume, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but by being yourself and expressing what you like and understanding that you'd like others' perspectives because you understand sort of the global consciousness of it. And on that, I do think because of that, you sort of show, and science shows this too, that if you look at the research of heart math, I don't know how respected they are, but I do think the concept that your heart does have a conscious as well, and the cells of your body have a consciousness as well as our you know subconscious and the different levels of consciousness within the mind. It is also within the body and within your heart. Like, for example, some of us we're giving space with our avatars, but we're in completely different spaces. Like, we don't need to do that. However, you feel that you need to do that because you feel the humanitarian energy. I don't know how we describe that, but you feel that someone else is, and as Altspace says, a human in a headset. And so when it does come to global, connected consciousness, collective consciousness, however far you want to go, I don't want to say I've had the privilege, but I've, because of the change also inspired within me, I've been exposed to some of the darker sides of consciousness, such as the occult and some of the, the reptilian agenda, and just allowing space for those sort of understandings of consciousness, which allows for more understanding of some things I've heard in the past and why people want to say certain things and why they want to do certain things. But being able to have a space where I can experience that and feel safe, not just, you guys are in different places, so I don't feel that you're going to physically do anything, which is something that is embodied in our consciousness if that's what we experience in our physical communities. I have the opportunity to be able to take that in and to understand someone else's perspective, which in turn can affect or impact or just be even just a data point if I would want to be that shallow. But that's my own perspective of being shallow. Someone else can say, I don't subscribe to that, but I respect if they, understand the feeling of respect, that that's your perspective, that I can do that. And that sort of broadens my understanding of the world when I go out to see someone else that may have that same perspective. I can have a broader tool set of choices of how I can respond. And I think that's sort of where the emergence that you say, you use that term, I've used other terms, but I think when you hear people speak from the heart or just expressing themselves or not holding back or not feeling like you don't belong in a space or you don't know the facts and the right way to define it, I think that allows for our human experience to grow and for us to be able to take more positive perspectives into the future. Again, which the Altspace, the original DNA, as you say, I do like that you put it that way. They did instill that into the platform, and I do think it stayed within communities, sort of as an energetic catalyst that we can take into WebXR. And any other platform that you take, and as well as physical reality, to choose where we'd like to go. How does the emergence sort of play out? Are we going to continue where these, siloed perspectives sort of control our not literal consciousness, but sort of our our general day-to-day consciousness of what's allowed, what's accepted, from the political space in government, just down to that's not what we do in this house. There's different ways and different aspects of our energy that are being brought to the front because of social media, because of virtual reality, because of the economy, where the world is going. Many people have lost their jobs, and the tech industry has allowed us to get into a place where we're going to be more digital. And we do, in this space, have we've been given the privilege to experience the cultures without many of the barriers that we've had in the past, and taking that forward so that much of the world can understand we're not just playing a game. That's something that a lot of people say. But this is sort of just another aspect, if you will, of our consciousness that we are creating within. And choosing what we do with it, I think, is where the conversation goes from there.
Wow,
Thank you for allowing me to say.
yeah, many interesting thoughts and many interesting perspectives. That's why I think that this is so amazing that we have this unprecedented chance to unite and express ourselves. I think that this is a new new sincerity, as they say in social networks. People start understanding that social networks as we know them are not very good in terms of, like, for example, Instagram is like more of a Vanity Fair, and it's not very healthy for us. It induces you into this state where you feel like you start having this syndrome. What was that? Imposter syndrome, and you think that everybody else is successful, you're not, and stuff like that. Some people get the positive out of it, but still I think that some products they do not improve, I would say, like they into the depth. They're more about expansion, but it's also okay. I think that when people start expressing and trying and being heard, eventually they'll come to some solution that is going to be just right for them. And I have a feeling that human connections and being happy and having healthy relationships and healthy lifestyle, living your life to the fullest, these are simple values that people will eventually come to. And more people realize that. And I have a feeling that if every person expresses their inner genuine needs and their personalities, we are going to become something like a beehive, where even though everybody buzzes on their own, the whole vibration or the whole statistical number of the majority is going to still, create that general movement of where we're heading to. And at one point, we will probably become some organism that is going to be able to collectively move somewhere and be aware of the movement, not just doing that randomly. Because right now, I think that it's already there. It's just not maybe it's not. Many people are not aware of that. I have this simple example that I have in my mind is like driving. Everybody's driving their cars, right? Like of their life. And some people do that blindfoldedly, but without even knowing that they're driving. But we all are drivers of our lives. So if you're a passenger in your life, I have some bad news for you, right? So yeah, I think that it's time to take our blindfolds off and realize that there's no way to not live your life. So you have to do that. It's only one life that you guaranteed to have, right? And it's not very long. So express yourself, be yourself, speak of the things that really matter. And like, if there's a dark thing, get into that and let it go. And, that's going to create space for positive change, because it's the same flux. Like, it's like a flow that you block if there's like a big stone there, right? So yeah, that's going to create more opportunity for people. Yeah, we are lucky to be safe, and we are lucky it's true, we are privileged. We have at least internet and the PC, and most of us have like headsets. So it's already a selection. Maybe it's going to be, something like a utopia to have this, perfect society of the world or something. But we do have the example of it here in Theory of Everything. This is a perfect, example of society I would love to live in. So maybe it's possible. Who knows? Hi, Johnny Android. Nice to see you here, the representative of Simulation Nation, one of the most amazing and similar communities here in Altspace, and I put this Friday timing specifically for America to allow more people to join. So I'm lucky that you're here. Do you have anything to add to this on this topic, like collective consciousness? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I'm jumping in late, so I don't know what you've covered, but I sort of, when you told me.
Hold on. Let me give you a megaphone. There you go. Everybody can hear you.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sort of think I'm sorry, I'm jumping in late, but I sort of think about this topic in two separate ways. So there's the Jungian way of the collective unconscious, which is a little bit more esoteric and sort of, I guess, philosophical, spiritual, psychological. And then there's the sort of way that I come at it as an entrepreneur and a business person, and a writer, which is more like it's sort of the zeitgeist. And so I think there's sort of two avenues to go there. And the way that I determine the zeitgeist is that we all sort of have our feelers out for what feels right, what connects with us in this moment, right? And so I think that the interconnectivity of people is expanding and accelerating the speed at which we all sort of share the same ideas. And so it may not be the sort of spiritual way of thinking about it, but it is the way that we all watch a certain show, and then we all read a certain article, and we all talk to a certain person, and we all listen to a certain podcast, and it starts having this Cambrian reaction where people start having similar ideas, and that bubbles up in society. And so I think that that's how I think of collective consciousness. And I think the more interactivity we have, and the more that we never shut off anymore with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, metaverse, all this stuff, there's really a way that the information is spreading around the world quicker and quicker and quicker. So you can be halfway across the world from me. We can be sharing similar cultural benchmarks that we're engaged with, and that kind of gives us the same idea. So having said that, I hope then that if we put out positive things into that zeitgeist and someone connects with that positive idea and someone else, that hopefully we can shift the zeitgeist to be a more positive perspective and in a more positive direction. And so, bringing this all back to Altspace, it's bittersweet for me. This has been my home for 2 years in the metaverse, and we have an event here on episode 135. So we've done this for 135 weeks in a row. Well, obviously, we've built a community here. We've built a world and a way to run our episodes, and we've invested even the world money and that kind of stuff. So I'm sad to see it go. I really am, and and it's a bittersweet feeling. On the other hand, the reason I came into Altspace is because of an optimistic outlook. And so I can't help but also have that optimistic outlook looking forward. And I do feel like this is an opportunity to step outside our comfort zone yet again and to branch out. And so the idea is that we in this little community of Altspace share so many great events and so many great ideas. I see Dates VR here, Mark and Jiffer, and then of course you, Ozzy. And what I think is going to happen is I feel like the amount of talent in Altspace per capita is higher than any of the other platforms. What I feel like is we're going to proliferate out into these other platforms, and we're going to plant the seeds that have been started in Altspace into all these other platforms, and hopefully we can spread the goodness that we've felt here, the community that we felt here, and the intellectual curiosity and ideas, and then it'll just spread the zeitgeist even further with what we've started here. And so my hope is that we all remember what we had here, we all bring that into our next place, and we all sort of share that and expand our audiences to these new platforms. So sort of my thoughts where I'm sitting right now.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Always
That's
golden.
true what he says.
Mhm.
When one door closes, the one opens. Although we're sad about this, we don't know how to, something bigger. And then we'll look back and say, thank God all down, or we would have never had this. See?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get comfortable. We don't want to change. No, not all change is bad. I believe that there is a lot of talent here. And to bring all that over into another space, my God, what else could possibly happen? You know, it could blow up. Now, perhaps we'll have eggs and do more
Oh,
in there,
I
you know?
agree. I agree. I
So,
think that
yeah.
in general in life, when one experience ends, there's potential for so many more better experiences. And
Yes.
so, never, try not to. You can definitely, cry at the end of an experience or feel bad about, losing the people. I was telling a friend here in
Sure.
Alt Space who was really upset. Yes, they're great people here and they're great worlds, but the most important thing is the connections you've made. Those are the ones that you will take with you. And so we try to follow each other on our Oculus and keep those connections because that's the most important thing. You can build worlds somewhere else, but the relationships you have made, every person is so unique that you will never find the same person again. So that to me is sad. I also think that the people here are more mature, like we already said, compared to other platforms. Like I go to VR chats, my eyes hurt, kids are screaming, people are drawing private parts in your face.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the kind of thing that you enjoy. So we will miss, the people that keep this platform mature and keep it at a adult level, and also their amazing skills. Many of us here are artists. We create beautiful things. We have great ideas, and you can't say that of most of the people on the other platforms. And I think that's what we'll miss: the people, not the alt space. We make the alt space. You know.
speaking of which, these are relevant questions, and this is one of the reasons why I put multiple events per week, not only one, to ask you guys about. Like, I already started messaging everybody and like trying to collect the little database of those connections. I started using the word entangled a lot because I believe this is something unique when I'm super optimistic about this, and like last event was like such a great proof of that. I'm sure that every person I met here is entangled with me because I remembered them and because I tried to like put all their stories directly in my heart and into my memory, in that kind of shapes of like who am I, and who I am actually. And there's a different thought that I have, is that I'm almost sure that we're going to meet again, because last event was so interesting, so ridiculous. Like, what a coincidence. I met a lady who was my colleague in America 13 years ago. Isn't that crazy? I couldn't even remember and recognize her, but I had like a chance to get on Facebook and start communicating with some people, and she messaged me actually by accident, and she actually remembered about me one day before we connected on Facebook. Never we connected in like last 12 years or something, and that was so strange. And I said, oh, I have this and that, and I have like VR events. She's like, I have a VR set. I'm like, what? That was such a like line of coincidences that I thought, this is the proof that we can meet years and years after these first meetings, and we think that, oh, it's all over again. No, it's not over. We're all entangled, and like once we touch each other, we'll stay connected, and you will never know when we're going to connect again. But I'm willing to kind of force that a little bit. So if you want to message me your emails, I'm collecting this little database because we don't know where we are going to migrate yet. So we are doing our best to keep the contacts together so that way we can keep connected. And then I think everybody uses email, and it's the easiest way to ask like a couple of questions and then move on to the solution.
Discord as well.
Yeah. Our Discord is not as active, so emails is like the first step that I'm focusing on right now. So that way later we can give you some steps on what's going to be the best solution, which platform, instead of jumping from one place to another.
Yeah, you don't even have an email, do you? It's crazy.
Yeah, Discord is great, but like if you have I can message everybody, I think. You can find it on the website page whenever you need. before Outspace closes. So you can find my email there. I'm trusting you guys on anything you want. So if you want to contact me back, so that way we can let you know when where Theory of Everything is moving and what a new thing we want to try to create, right? So yeah, that's talking about the connections, right?
Hey, I gotta go take care of some stuff. Everybody have a good day. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna head up like in 8 minutes or something like that because we normally have 1 hour and a half, and then we could have like today I scheduled it for 2 hours so people can still join, but we can have like an after party so you can stay and have more connections. And we're gonna be back tomorrow. We're going to have like the European time regular event at 6:30 my time. It's around 4:30, 3:30 European time, depending on the country where you are. So yeah, that's all I have to say today. Do you have any other ideas? Any hand raises? I don't see any hand raises. So, but I see some friend requests. I'd love to be your friends. Not for long, but still. There. So guys, you're from Date. Mm-hmm.
I think the cashier over here had something he wanted to say.
Oh, great. Once again, who wants to speak?
Are you? They're right next to me right here. Are you unable to see them?
Hold on, let me move. No. Allah? What's
No?
the username?
Okay, they're directly next to me.
Oh, maybe I should
Cashew.
re-enter. Yeah, I remember Cashew, if that's the Cashew I am thinking of. Let me re-enter.
It doesn't seem like you're able to hear them. Maybe you have them blocked. It's the only thing I can
No,
think of.
we
Or you
shouldn't.
just re-entered to your right.
We do not block anybody. I barely remember. Maybe
I don't know
one person.
Another,
Yeah,
another reason.
I'll re-enter. Oh, okay,
Another
the Cashew. There you go. You're even in
There we
on the megaphone.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yay! Yes, and I recognize you,
I was like,
girl.
I came in and I was waving to you, and then I was talking, and I was like, nobody can hear me.
No, you're a ghost. You're already so spiritual.
Right. I was saying back to the collective conscious. I missed most of it, but
That's
one
fine.
of the
You came.
dangers of that is it's too easy to get stuck in an echo chamber. I feel like that was, from what I heard, wasn't super acknowledged. Because, like, you get, with people who have the same ideas and you talk and you see the same things, but then you get stuck in this echo chamber of everybody agreeing with you and you're not challenged. So, like, your, like, beliefs and biases and stuff don't get challenged. And you see that a lot in America right now. There's a lot of echo chambers about a lot of really tough issues where you've got people that only talk to people who agree with them.
Yeah, we have the same problem too, especially in the government. Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. And so you've got a lot of people that are like, with a lot of like hot button topics here. I don't want to like get into those, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But, and so I feel like my resolution for this year is to challenge my bias.
Good.
And I feel
Aging on that.
as we get closer to collective consciousness, as much as there's positive, like Johnny was saying, as much as there's positive hope, there's also the reality that, hate begets hate at the same time, where you've got people that, that are become in an echo chamber of certain previous presidents and things like that, where they just only go to events, read articles, watch news, talk to people who are in that same bias and thought process. And bias isn't necessarily always like a negative thing. Like, there could be like a queer bias, for instance, which I kind of have, where I'm like, I go out of my way and I'm like, oh, this person in this show, is totally this orientation. And that may not be true, but that's a bias where I automatically look for, and it's not, yeah, it's one of those things where I usually think of bias as being something that's like, oh, a racism bias or, a conservative bias, things like that. But there's also, something that's not talked about as much as like liberal bias, and things like that. And so
it's a broader topic than I feel like they like to use the term to pigeonhole people that they don't agree with without realizing that everyone has their own. Or like something I've been working on is I grew up female, and I definitely have a female bias about the world where, I'm just like, well, why can't guys just support each other? Women do, which is a bias. And I know now that I've challenged that bias, I know why. I know that there's been, hundreds of years of institutional and as far as we've raised kids and like that kind of stuff where it's definitely gotten in the way of that, but that's a bias that I have. Is seeing things from, from an acculturated as a woman standpoint, or your religious beliefs give you a bias, no matter what those are, things like that. And so I feel like part of collective consciousness should also be challenging your biases, challenging your assumptions, and being open to new. Yeah. One sec.
Oh, your real world people. I thought about ghosts again. Yeah, that's a good point. I think Cashew is AFK. But yeah, I think this is such a good point. But I have a feeling that when I talked about manifesting yourself, it's something that I also was referring to, that there's an ecological, like, safe way to have different opinions and discuss them. And I think this event is one of those places. And over time, I would love to expand it and bring more people in when we have this stable, atmosphere. I would bring more people from different parts of the spectrum to have conversations and to have
for sure.
So that's how I see it.
Sorry,
And
my mom was asking me a
that's
question.
what I thought. Yeah.
But she's asking me about a sweatshirt that she got that I might like. But
that's sweet.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we also touched on. Someone touched on, and I don't think they're here anymore, but the maturity found in alt space. That is why I kept coming back.
I think that was Dr. Heartbeats, right?
Real discussions. I mean, my first 30 seconds in VR chat, there was a little kid dropping the F slur. Who's
Welcome to
like
VR chat.
10, 11, and him and his friend were dropping the F slur at like max volume. And I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, VR chat, as I said, even the same group of people moving, like we had two different events, like two different excursions here on Altspace, and then we went to VR chat, and all of a sudden the same group of people had a different behavior. Like here we would have conversations, exchange news.
It's like if you know anybody, if you play League of Legends, I'm a firm believer that just entering League of Legends, you become the worst possible version of yourself. There's no way to avoid it. Because the whole community just encourages degeneracy.
Toxicity.
And crudeness and,
Maybe, Dota, I
it's
think
like
it's not far away from that.
Classroom. You wouldn't go into a classroom and, say the kind of things that you say in League of Legends.
And you get kicked out?
Mindset and what? Yeah, you would get kicked out of your classroom for sure. But in League of Legends, it's just and there are other games like that. If you ever sat in like a Call of Duty voice chat, then when you're waiting, same idea.
My husband is playing Call of Duty in the next room, so I'll go check if he's cursing or not.
But and that's one of the things is that and Altspace, the users self-police. Like there was a time where there was like a little kid, she sounded like she was probably like 8 or 9, was in Campfire wandering around, and there were a couple of not even just moderators but adults that came by and were like, hey, like, are you okay? Where's your parents? Like that kind of thing, and tried to like be like, this is, a 13 plus space. It's not necessarily appropriate for someone in your age group, and so there's definitely, and they weren't like dogging on the kid, but they were like, there was genuine concern, which you don't find in any of the other spaces. Like, and even like I was on. This was fall, but I was on what is that one? Horizon Worlds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only 18 plus spaces are loud and chaotic. There's always music and lights. It's like going to a club. They're all club spaces, which is not. I am on the spectrum and I have a lot of sensory problems, and it's miserable because unlike in alt space, you can't change the ambient sound levels.
Oh no, that would suck.
Yeah, you can't change the and so you're.
Azzy, sorry.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I can.
Where?
Azzy, sorry, yeah, just over here. Thanks,
Hey, Mark.
It was lovely coming here. We're going to shoot off now, but yeah.
Oh,
we
you
just
should have
wanted to
shared
pop
some
in
of your
just to see what
thoughts.
this is about.
You were just like, hanging out with
Oh, no.
popcorn.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Still nice to have you.
Yeah, lovely to be here. I think it's our first time that we've ever actually come to one of these.
Welcome.
It's always been on my radar.
Oh, nice.
But thank you.
Nice.
Where are you guys? So we're just kind of curious to know where you're going to go next as well, because this is the kind of conundrum that we're at right now. Is
Same.
like what?
I know the
Cashew
LGBT
previous-
guys that run the big twice weekly LGBT events are moving to. There's been a lot of chatter in their Discord about moving to VR chat, but I found that VR chat is so toxic to queer people, and so are the other ones. A lot of the other ones that I've gone to are so toxic to queer people that it makes me really nervous. Ovik is raising their hand behind you.
Okay, yeah, I'll shoot on, but thank you so much, AZ, for
Yeah, thanks for
letting us
coming.
visit.
Yeah. Ciao.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I totally.
Yeah, I thought about Spatial, by the way, like one of the spots.
Thank you so much for the time. So
Hold on, let me give you a megaphone.
Last time.
Ovik.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Hold on. Everybody who's close can hear you, but if I give you a megaphone like this, do my magic? If you confirm that, you should have the megaphone.
Oh, I have access to host tools.
Nice. You're
So I
privileged.
just
There
give
you go.
Myself one.
Yeah, I think now it works. Thank you so much.
There.
Appreciate it.
Now we can hear you.
Sorry for interrupting about the toxic people and the community about VR chat.
no,
We
you're
were
fine.
actually talking with Dr. Heartbeat. I was actually yesterday talking about the fact that we are actually trying to immigrate to VR chat. And I just want to add, toxic people, kids, rude people, they're everywhere, every platform, and we can't take
Well-
us back from people and from the community there. So we were actually talking about the fact that we can actually make the events in VR chat because, first of all, it's a actually pretty good platform beside the community themselves. And we were talking about the fact, right? I mean, VR chat is amazing for me. Beside how it's programmed and what you can build in there, it's pretty insane because you have a lot of possibilities what you don't have in other platforms. And we were talking about the fact that we can actually organize events about I mean, this is really cool. The subjects we're having, all space is amazing. And what we can do, we can just have our events in there, and at some point we can try to filter the people that are not really welcome or maybe not actually
that aren't
inside
behaving
of the puzzle.
appropriately. It's not a matter of being welcome. It's a matter of behaving in an appropriate manner.
Definitely.
Because
and
we want to be, and I feel like the word choice there is really important because people who aren't welcome is exclusivity. And it's not that they're not welcome, it's that they need to have appropriate behavior. So those people are
Definitely, and I
totally
think
welcome
if you can't
they
behave,
can
you are not welcome,
behave nicely.
right? So if you don't
I feel
behave,
like-
you're not welcome, right?
Well, but I feel like not well. It creates. It's like it creates an exclusion effect for people, and it makes them mad. And then you get haters, and it's just word choice is so important. So I feel like it
Totally.
more is just filter out people who refuse to behave appropriately. I don't like the word not welcome here because as a, queer autistic individual, that's something that's been said to me. Is
Well, I
that you
think
can be
maybe
here,
I'm
you're not
saying
welcome
really
here.
in like in black and white, like it is or that or that. Like I mean, if you can behave, if you're like screaming kid, like running into
Yeah.
the event and like saying bad things, what I'm trying to say is we can also change that people as well. If the first time they're
Yeah.
gonna get mute for an hour, for 2 hours, next day they won't do that because they don't want to get muted. They want to get hurt.
Wow.
So I think we can also like make the community better as well if you just let them
Yeah.
know like you're gonna get that, you're gonna get muted. You
Mhm.
don't gonna behave, of course.
Yeah, there's gonna
And
be
the
consequences
next time,
for
if they
inappropriate
don't
behavior.
behave, that's their own problem.
What?
But if they do behave, then we're gonna change the community to some better community, I think. So why should we just take a step back for people who don't know and are not conscious about what they're saying or doing, instead of let them know how the correct way is and how they can behave and how they can actually also be welcome in some kind of events. I mentioned
Mhm.
welcome and not welcome again because I think there are a lot of kids and the kids can learn a lot as well. If they are a community same as us we are, with respect, with patience, with I don't know, like mindful, like madness, good mindful and mindset, why we don't teach them? Why we don't let them
No,
know
for
how
sure.
about
And you can
us?
come in and be like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a sec in this other room?" And then be like, have, obviously not just anybody, but people who are like, have the gifting for teaching little kids, younger kids and things like that. Hey, so this is why we muted you, having like an individual one-on-one conversation and creating a teachable moment would definitely be helpful, but just figuring out how to facilitate that.
With VR chat, I have like a couple of questions because I think it's a little bit difficult to access it in terms of. See you soon, Johnny. If you have to go, thanks for coming. That was a very cool. Yeah, cool.
And just just to tell you where we're going, we're actually headed to spatial, and the reason for that
That's
is
why.
our world
Yeah.
is able to work directly into spatial very
Oh.
easily.
Yeah.
So
Spatial
that's
is
where we're
the.
going to start. That's gonna be our new home base. We're gonna try
Yeah, I
to
haven't
do
checked out
digital
spatial
nomad
yet. I
stuff and
haven't.
check out the other ones
Nice,
as well.
nice. Yeah, I've been thinking about it
Have
too.
you seen that you have to pay
What is it
facial?
for me?
Like 4 people
Oh,
maximum is
simulation, that
free,
one right
and
there
for
on that
7 people you have to
billboard.
pay.
Not
Like
not that I
I live in
heard of.
Belgium, for example. I can't do any payments on my MetaQuest, and that means I will never actually can be in a room with more than 4 people, and I can't
Oh.
also buy it because it's illegal in Belgium to do
Yep.
payments
Whoa.
online. So,
Oh.
for example, Spatial, it was perfect. I went in there, I came on, and everything what we can do here, if I want to do
Right.
it there, I have to get a membership. I can't do it. Like, you can't do any payments. Everything is blocked here. So, how about that? Have we thought about that? About people in maybe the third countries, maybe
Which
Middle
is
Like
East,
Russia?
regional exclusion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
regional
Sorry?
exclusion.
Like in Russia, I'm in Russia, so a lot of payments are blocked. I'm suffering
Yep.
with my Zoom because every time I have to stop after 40 minutes and rejoin again, and yeah, annoying.
Definitely.
I thought that
You
Belgium
can
was
blame, you can blame your
developed.
glorious
Good
leader for
point.
that one. I know you
Yeah,
have nothing
the
to do about
leadership.
it. Yeah,
I think
it's a
it'll
leadership
be on
problem.
OVIC understand the culture that you're hoping to see within the internet culture, because the internet culture has allowed for people to have an escape from the real world.
Yeah.
So the way that they want to react, the way that they want to act, the way that they want to be, they've found a free space to do so. So if a child is running, they have found the freedom to be able to find joy by running in a virtual space. They're not going to run into anything. There's not going to be,
Oh yeah, no,
mommy
I
doesn't
get
have
that,
to take me
but
to the
coming
doctor.
into
But for OVISD, when you're coming from a different culture and you want to have these private rooms, VR chat doesn't seem to have that instilled, because
Yeah,
it
it doesn't
is primarily
facilitate.
a technical company. It's allowing for 3D content creators to have their spaces, just like you mentioned, where AltSpace
Definitely.
doesn't, because what one of their primary tenets was to allow for a global space for anyone to be able to come and feel safe in the environment the same way that they can feel safe in a physical environment. That's one of their cultural aspects
Oh no, I
that
get
the
it.
internet does not have. And so when you want to go to VR chat and you want to have that, they did not hire people that understood that tenet. And I think as
Yeah.
we go forward, people will understand that these are people in the headset. There are multiple communities, like Takashi was saying. The LGBT community has found a safe space in here because the initial people, the DNA, as he
Yep.
put it, they allow for them to have a space to feel free to express themselves
Yeah.
and have the
Definitely.
same benefits that people that just have a headset within the tech industry who found themselves here, or people who are in the game industry who found themselves here. They
Right.
found a place on the internet. and it allowed for them to have that space. And what we're seeing is other people come here and they want to replicate their own physical spaces in the internet are sort of being exposed to, yeah, there's a lot of energy on the internet. We found our freedom of expression here. And so there
Well,
are going to
and
be those flashes that happen
I feel
that
like
I'm hoping VR
sorry.
chat can see, because they are getting all space people. A lot of these communities are migrating over there because it's been so
feel
simple
like
for them, even if
alt
they have
space
requests.
is
Go ahead.
was I
Agreed.
guess now was the evolution of the forum
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
like VR chat is more of a game, whereas I feel like alt space is definitely, at least the spaces that I occupy and the events that I go to, are, you know, the natural progression of the forum where there's order. You know, there's order, there's guidelines, you know, you can set rules for your event. You know, you're like, you know, here are the rules on the wall, you know, and if you can't, you're booted, you know. You can't, you know, follow the rules, you know, rather than and I'm not saying that I like that, appreciate that there's places, especially as the world becomes more urbanized, you know, less walkable cities, less parks, things like that. I like that there's, you know, green spaces for kids to play in. That's fine.
Absolutely.
But there needs to be somewhere for adults to have serious adult conversations, and that's what All Space has been. And
I think there
so
are other
it's really,
enterprise
you
platforms
know,
that are allowing for the conversations that
Mm-hmm.
you're referring to, because
what?
there's much more of a enterprise platforms that allow for more
Mhm.
of the adults conversations, if you'd like to put it that way, because there's more
Yeah.
of a
Mm-hmm.
I
specific
understand.
topic.
Yeah.
Here, there's sort of it's more
Yeah.
social, more that's going on. So having a private event, it doesn't seem that the technical companies sort of understand that. They're not hiring for, you know,
Well,
a culture CEO. You know, they're not hiring for that. It's just, we need to have the best engineers. We need to have the performance, get the most people.
yeah,
We're still
we need
sort
to
of
make
in
the
that.
most money.
And to integrate that,
Yeah.
making not necessarily based on allowing people to be happy. That's something
Mm-hmm.
that we as a
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
collective, if
Oh,
we
it's
want to get back
definitely
to
not.
collective consciousness,
It's
are
actually
sort
the
of
opposite of
experiencing.
that.
And so we get the privilege of seeing that amalgamation, of seeing what are we going to do? Are we going to allow for us to, as you say, have a decorum private events? Are we going to allow people to come in and we're going to take it upon ourselves to be a leader and say, hey, this is how we'd like to do things here in order to progress the conversation forward, or in order to allow
Or at
people to
least
use the right
have,
tool, or
like,
in order to allow people to speak during specific space that we have before it goes away.
Guys,
And
I
it's sort of
really,
on our leaders to say, this is how we do.
yeah. This is so cool. I'll like I have to run, but I can't like leave you for 15 minutes already.
Yeah.
It was very nice to have you all, guys, and it's sweet to see you, Cashew, finally in VR again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll see you
Well,
tomorrow.
you know,
If
the events were at the crack of dawn.
yeah, too
I
late, but
kept
still.
looking,
Yeah,
and I was like, they're not on the thing. They should be Fridays, you know, in the afternoonish time. And then she found me on Discord
Yeah.
and was like,
Well, actually,
oh
you
yeah,
find
we're
me.
doing it at like 6 in the. I was like, I can't wake up at 6 in the
Yeah,
morning.
I just realized that because we kind of chose the timing that was more convenient for both of us, but now I realized that maybe we
Thank
should have.
you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
having this
Which I get.
time.
That's
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
that's fair, but and also they were on Saturdays as well, and I work Saturdays.
Yeah, well, I'll try to have it next Friday as well. It depends on my timing if I can manage that because I have a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on.
No,
But
I
still,
get it. It's late.
yeah. But anyway, I have some
I appreciate
recordings, and I've been collecting them on YouTube for 2 years, and I have like many recordings. I'm curious going back and listening to those conversations again because I sometimes I don't have an opportunity to deeply listen to every part of the conversation because I'm moderating. So I'm gonna go back and kind of
That'd be cool.
yeah. It's on my YouTube channel actually. I used to have poster here, but like we didn't put it this time. Ooh, got lazy.
Well, we're Discord buddies, so
Yeah. I'm calm about that. Just find me and like email me or find me anywhere you have like a connection with me. So As a Limitless Mind is the same name for like my YouTube channel. It's very small, that's why you might not find it right away. But if you find it, that's another way to contact me actually. So yeah, it was very sweet to see you guys. I'm gonna stop stop the recording and head off to check out my husband's toxic conversations with his co-players with Call of Duty.
Is still going to be open?
Yeah, it's still gonna be open for 13 minutes, so people can join, and after that you can actually hang out more, I think.